Hey guys, so finally, I'm going to do my collective haul of everything that I got like late 2012, like November, December. So I don't want this to be too long, so I'm just gonna get started with the films that I got first. And these first two are the only two DVDs. And the first one is A Walk to Remember, starring Shane West and Mandy Moore. And this is personally my favorite Nicholas Sparks book to movie adaptation. I love it. And everyone always says The Notebook, The Notebook. That's what everyone thinks of when they think of Nicholas Sparks. But this one I think is very underrated, and I love it. It's my absolute favorite. But I love The Notebook too. I love The Notebook, but A Walk to Remember is my absolute favorite. And next up is one of my favorite comedies of all time, and it is Tropic Thunder, starring Ben Stiller, Jack Black, and the scene Stiller, Robert Downey Jr. And this is the 2-disc director's cut. Yeah, we all know how amazing this movie is and how hilarious it is. I don't need to get into depth about that. And the rest of these are Blu-rays. First up, Hairspray, the 2-disc Shake and Shimmy edition, starring a slew of stars. John Travolta, Michelle Pfeiffer, Christopher Walken, Amanda Bynes, James Marsden, Queen Latifah, Brittany Snow, Zac Efron, Allison Janney, and Nikki Blonsky. So, love that. I love the state, the Broadway show, everything about it. It's just awesome. And then next up, I have The Vow, starring Rachel McAdams and Channing Tatum. And this was cute for what it was. Me personally, I prefer Channing Tatum in these type of roles like this and Dear John, which I also own somewhere down there. But yeah, I enjoyed this film. I did. But don't get me wrong, I love Channing Tatum in 21 Jump Street as well. I thought he was absolutely hilarious. And then next up, I'm going to give you a bit of a hint, if you can see those right there. Give like a hint of what's coming. And it is the Twilight Saga Breaking Dawn Part 1, the special edition, even though I don't see what the hell is so special about it. There's really not that much special features wise on this. But then I was looking on Amazon the other day, and they're apparently re-releasing Breaking Dawn Part 1 with an extended cut with 8 more freaking minutes to the film. Yeah. And I just bought this copy, so I'm like, you know what? Screw you, Summit. Screw you. Ugh. Next up, I have the 2-disc unrated edition of Superbad. I love this film. It's starring Fat Jonah Hill, who I loved, and Michael Cera, who is just too precious for words. And I think this was Emma Stone's first role, so yeah, it's just, yeah, everything about it is just great. Love this movie, love it. Next up, another one of my favorite comedies. It's the 2-disc unrated edition of Step Brothers, starring Will Ferrell and John C. Reilly. This is my absolute favorite, well, my second favorite Will Ferrell film, with my first being Anchorman. I love Anchorman. Cannot wait for the sequel this year, but I quote this movie frequently. Like, it's ridiculous how often I quote Step Brothers, but it's a very quotable movie. It's great. Next up, another Will Ferrell film, the unrated other edition of The Other Guy, starring Will Ferrell and Mark Wahlberg, with a very special shout out to Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson and Samuel L. Jackson for their cameos. I thought they were hilarious, and I wish they would have been in the movie longer, because they were just brilliant. But I enjoyed this film. I love the banter between Mark Wahlberg's character and Will Ferrell's character. Next is Sherlock Holmes, A Game of Shadows, starring Robert Downey Jr. and Jude Law. I'm a huge Sherlock Holmes fan, and any adaptation I'm just going to just love. And I love the Robert Downey Jr., Guy Ritchie films, and I love the BBC Sherlock with Benedict Cumberbatch and Martin Freeman, and I love the American Sherlock Holmes show, Elementary, with Johnny Lee Miller and Lucy Liu. I just love Sherlock Holmes. And next up, you know what? You guys are going to judge me. And I don't even care. Go ahead. Judge me. Not a single ounce of shame in my body for this purchase. It is, yeah, Magic Mike. Starring Alex Pettyfer, Channing Tatum, Matthew McConaughey. Yeah, because sometimes you just want to turn your brain off for an hour and a half and watch hot guys shaking ass. And I see nothing wrong with that. I don't. And last but certainly not least, my favorite film of 2012, and it needs no introduction. Yep. Nothing, absolutely nothing needs to be said. Yeah. And then all the rest of these are all books. The first one is an autobiography. It's Adam Copeland on Edge. And Edge was well, I have to say was because he had to retire due to injuries, a wrestler for the WWE. He was one of my absolute favorite wrestlers of all time. And I read this book years ago because it's quite old, but I never owned it, so I had to pick this up. I saw it dirt cheap on Amazon, so I got it, and I love this book, and I love him. I adore him. And the rest of these are all YA. And this first one I got for $3 at Half Price Books, so that's a win. And it is Clockwork Angel by Cassandra Clare. It's the first book in the Infernal Devices series. And I haven't read anything by Cassandra Clare. I know. But I do own all of the Mortal Instruments series on my iPad. Like the first three I have in audiobook and then City of Fallen Angels and City of Lost Souls, I think. I have on in like ebooks. But I'm still listening to City of Bones on audiobook. But it's so far so good. I like it so far. And then next I have one of my favorite books of 2012, Divergent by Veronica Roth. I read this in January of last year. I checked it out from the library. Had to get it. I couldn't find the hard God, I can talk. I know how to speak. I promise. I could not find the hardcover. There, see, I told you I could do it. The hardcover copy anywhere. But finally found the only copy at Barnes & Noble because the rest of theirs were paperback. And I didn't want the paperback because I have Insurgent and hardcover. And they're just so pretty on the shelf next to each other. And this next book, you guys are going to kill me because I have not read. And but I own it now, so we're making progress. Baby steps. It is The Fault in Our Stars by John Green. I know I'm like the last person in existence who has not read this book. But I own it, and I have actually also by John Green, Paper Towns and Looking for Alaska right there. You probably can't see, but I read Looking for Alaska, loved it. Haven't read Paper Towns, but I will be reading this one next month for sure. Like I will be reading this. Cannot wait. I'm going to have my big humongous box of tissue so I can have the ugliest cry known to mankind. It's going to be fantastic. It's going to be wonderful. And these last two books are part of a series. One of them you're going to know because I showed it in my intro for what I'm currently reading. So there's a dead giveaway there. And the first book is The Unbecoming of Mara Dyer by Michelle Hopton. It's the first book in the Mara Dyer trilogy. Read this very last minute of December of last year, and I loved it. And so I immediately went out and picked up the sequel, The Evolution of Mara Dyer, also by Michelle Hopton. And I'm currently reading this, and I am loving this so far. It's just a really great series, really great story, characters, and everything. I just love it, and I cannot wait for the third and final book, The Retribution of Mara Dyer. So, yeah, wow. That's everything. Good. Okay, so my next video will probably be either a bookshelf tour or a movie collection video. I'll probably do both. I don't know. I don't know, who knows. But until next time, you guys, bye.